Hello, Haley and Libby. This is the second half of the 7-4 notes. We are starting with example 5. I'm changing example 6 just a little bit, and I'll get to that. But yeah, here we go. This is phase shift. And phase shift, I said, was the hardest of the 4 things that you're doing, right? Okay? So just as a review from yesterday, we have like a sine or a cosine function. You've got A, like sine, B, Bx minus C plus D, okay? And each one of those things tell you a certain thing, right? Like A is amplitude, D is the vertical shift, yeah? Okay, what does B tell you? What does B have to find?
B has to find the period.
The period, right? Okay? And you have to do 2 pi over B or pi over B if it's tangent, right? To find the periods. You have to work hard for him. This guy tells you the phase shift, or they also call it the horizontal shift. Okay, so phase shift. And it's not just C, it is negative C over B that is your phase shift. So the 2 middle pieces, the B and the C, you have to work a little bit harder for, okay? The amplitude and the up and down, those are the easy parts, okay? And those are usually the first things that I do when I'm like dissecting an equation. I pull those 2 pieces out because those are the easy ones, all right? So let's go to this one. This is the first one that we've had to graph with a phase shift. Now, we graphed a phase shift yesterday, okay? But this one has a bunch of things, all right? So if you need to write that down, that's also written at the top of the back side or the front side, I guess. There we go. Good? You ready for me to move?
Wait, hold.
Wait, hold. Okay. They want us to graph at least one cycle, one complete cycle. So one complete wave of this thing. Okay? All right, before I go through and graph, I'm going to start by listing out the 4 pieces. Amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift. I usually go like that. But there's also one more thing that this one will have.
Flip.
And I put a star at the bottom so I don't forget him. He is going to be flipped because he has a negative in front, okay? So I'm going to put a star so I make sure I don't forget that. I usually do that as one of the first things, okay? All right, what's the amplitude?
4.
4, not negative 4, just 4. That's the first thing that I do. The second one that I usually address is the vertical shift. What's he?
3.
Up 3. Okay, you can just put 3 if you want to. But I'm going to put up 3 so I can describe it and know like which direction I'm going. Okay, the other 2 I have to work for. I usually do the period next. And it is 2 pi over B. Okay, what is the B value? What is your B number?
1/2.
This number right here, this is like 1/2 t, right? So I'm doing 2 pi divided by 1/2. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on that. If you take 2 pi and divide by 1/2, you flip the 1/2 to the top, and it becomes times 2 over 1. Okay, so what's 2 pi times 2 over 1?
4 pi.
4 pi. So I'm making it wider, right? He's now going to 4 pi instead of to 2 pi. Got it? Okay, then the last thing, I'm going to, can I change this problem a little bit? Otherwise it's going to complicate things. Can I move some stuff around? Okay, let's change this 1 to be a pi. Okay? Otherwise it's going to complicate things. So I'm altering the problem. On your homework assignment, it will not be like that. It will have a pi in the answer or a pi in that part, okay? So I'm going to change that. Everybody change that. That should be a pi. Got it? All right, for phase shift, which is left and right, that's the last thing that I do, number 4, because he's the hardest. I do negative C over B. Okay, what is the C value? I just changed it. Pi. So he's going to be negative pi over, what's B?
4 pi.
No, what was B?
Oh,
B was just 1/2. Okay?
Hey.
Luke and Jake, be quiet. Chase needs to listen to this. What?
What are primary colors?
I don't care.
Red, orange.
No, it's no.
Red,
Yellow, red, blue.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Alright, if I take negative
Everybody
pi
knows, but
and divide by
it's-
1/2, I'm going to flip him to the top, so multiply by 2 over 1. So, what's the phase shift going to be?
That's fine. It's because he's wearing one.
What's the phase shift going to be?
Phase shift.
Phase shift going to be what?
That's 1/2. What?
Negative 2 pi, James
Negative.
says. Okay, now what does that mean, negative 2 pi?
You move it to the left pi. 2 pi.
Left 2 pi. Okay, there we go. He's going to the left 2 pi. Alright, So this is the trickiest part. All right, we've got it all figured out. We've got it all labeled out. You guys yesterday were supposed to do 1 through 6, and you got through that point. Like you listed all 4 things. Sometimes that has 5 if it's flipped. But now we're to the hard part where we actually have to graph some stuff. So you're going to label everything and then draw the curve last. Label everything, draw the curve last. Okay, so normally sine. This is our sine function. He goes from 0 to 2 pi. He's going to go from 0 to 4 pi, right? Okay, so 2 pi is going to go here in the middle. This guy would be just pi. This guy would be 3 pi, right? Okay, but the problem is, hold up. The problem is we're shifting him to the left 2 pi. So instead of starting him at 0, he's actually going to start at where? Negative 2 pi. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to say he's going to start right here, okay? Don't think that that's a vertical asymptote. I'm just going to put that line there so I know where he's going to start. So I have like the start of my box, right? But that's not a vertical asymptote, okay? That's where he is. Where will he end then?
Negative. Or not negative. 2 pi.
At positive 2 pi, right? Because he's 4 pi wide, right? So negative 2 pi to positive 2 pi would be 4 pi wide. So starting, ending. I've got the starting, ending. All right. Now, next thing. What else should we address now? How tall he is, but first, let's go 3 up first. 1, 2, 3. He's starting here, so his middle line will now be at 3. Okay? From there, he goes up how many? 4. So I'm going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how high he goes, which is at where? 7. Okay? He's going to go down 4 as well, which is going to make him go down to -1. Okay? All right, now, do you see my grid here? Like I've got my starting, ending, I've got my middle line, like my whole curve is going to go in that box, all right? Now I just draw sine, but also keep in mind, he is negative. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to the board. Where's my first dot going to go? On here. Where's your first dot go?
Negative 2 pi.
Right here. Like right there in the middle, right? Okay, then from there he goes down, middle, up, middle, right? Sine. Whoop. So first dot, this is like where he's starting at 0, 0. Like my 0, 0 now has moved over and up to 3 and over to negative 2 pi. Do you see how that works? Okay, your first dot's going to go there. Then because he's negative, he's going down. So he's going to, second dot goes here. This one goes back to the middle, up and back down again. And this is what he looks like. Okay. It's really difficult because you have to like remember all 5 things at the same time. But if you mark that little box, it helps take away from all the things you have to remember, right? Then at the end, you just have to say, like, where do I start? Okay? And where do I go from there? Okay? Is that manageable? You really have to concentrate when you're graphing. Okay? Those are rather difficult. 1 complete cycle, we've done it. Got it? Okay, I'm going to change this problem on example 6 a little bit. Don't look at this graph. We're going to cross him off. What I want you to do is we are going to go backwards. Okay? I want you to create a sine function for me or write the equation of what it is if I give you these things. Okay? So write this down. I've just made these numbers up. I want your amplitude to be 6. We're not going to graph this. We're just going to write the equations. We're going backwards. I want your amplitude to be 6. I want your period to be pi over 2. I want your phase shift to be left pi. They will write it as a negative pi, but that's what that means, negative pi, okay? I want your vertical shift to be down 4, which would actually be -4 if you want to write it like that, okay? And then I want you to flip him. So we have all 5 things going on, and we're going to put him back into the equation and not, it's like working backwards, right? Okay, normally we have the equation, we're pulling this stuff out of it. Now we're working backwards, okay? All right, I still do the easy ones first. So we know we need y equals. I need a number here. We're doing a sine function. I need a number here, x. I need a number here. And then I need my plus d here, right? So I need to fill in those blanks. Okay? All right, let's fill in what we know we need. -6 goes in the front. Chase says that crosses this and the flip. Got it? We've addressed those. I'm going to cross them off because I know they're done. What other thing is really easy?
Vertical shift.
Vertical shift, down 4. That means that goes -4 at the end, okay? Those are the easy things. We just plop those numbers right in there. Now we have to work a little harder, okay? Are you ready? Normally when we calculate period, we do 2 pi divided by b. Here we're trying to find what b is, but I know the period has to be what? pi over 2, right?
Set it equal to pi over 2.
Okay. So I know I want my period to be pi over 2. From here, I tell you that I want it to be pi over 2. So I just work backwards and I try to find b. So I'm going to use this information to find what b is, right?
Multiply b over.
How would you like to
multiply
do
by
this?
2, divide by pi. Multiply b over.
You want to multiply b over?
Multiply b over.
I don't want to do that.
No.
I want to cross multiply and divide.
Mhm.
I mean, you can, if you want to, you can multiply b over. I'm going to cross multiply and divide, right?
I got
So
it
there's
done
this
2
and
minutes
this,
ago, so
okay?
don't even.
Sure. 2 pi times 2 is 4 pi, and pi times b is pi b, right?
Yeah.
And then
Divide by pi.
divide by pi. So
B
what will
equals
b be?
4.
b is 4, so 4 goes here. Do you see that?
Mhm.
So you have to work a little bit backwards. Do you see what we did? 2 pi over b is the formula for period. I set that equal to what I want the period to be. Got it? All right, the next thing is the last thing, and that is phase shift. What's the formula for calculating phase shift?
Negative c over b.
Negative c over b. Do we know what b is now?
4.
4. We just calculated that, right?
Mhm.
What do I want negative c over b to be equal to?
Set it equal to
Pi.
pi.
Negative pi,
Negative
right?
pi.
Negative pi, so that's equal to negative pi. Okay,
Multiply
that's
the
what
4
I
over,
want
divide
my
by
phase shift to
negative
be.
1.
Okay? If I'm trying to get c by itself,
4 pi.
I have to get rid of the 4. To move the 4 over, I would multiply by 4.
Yep.
At the same time, I want to get rid of the negative, so I'm going to bring the negative with the 4, and I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 4, and that will leave c by itself. Do you see how that works? Okay? So, what will your c be?
No.
What?
Positive 4 pi.
Positive 4 pi. Negative pi times negative 4 is positive 4 pi.
Mhm.
So I put 4 pi here, but what was in front of that 4 pi? Plus, right? It's now positive. That is my equation, okay? Now, if you were doing this on a test, and I said, put it into the equation, I would then work with those numbers and pull them back out and make sure that they match. Does that make sense? To check your answer, right? Okay? So, working backwards is a little bit harder, like you have to really just sit and think for period and phase shift. But you're setting that equation, negative c over b, equal to what you want the phase shift to be. Or 2 pi over b, equal to what you want the period to be. Got it? And you're working backwards to plug them back in. Got it? That's going to be like the bottom part of your homework assignment. Okay? Like these guys here, 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9. Now, number 9, nope. Number 9 does have a 4th number. James just did it again. So there you go. Okay? 7, 8, 9. There they are. On the back side, yeah, you have all of these things. Yeah. I'm going to skip example 7 and example 8. We're not going to do example 7 and example 8. How about that? Okay? We will skip those. So, just jump right to the homework. You should have 1 through 6 done. Go ahead and do 7, 8, 9. Do you want to do one of the backside ones together now, so we don't have as many to go through on Monday if you have lots of questions? Let's go through number 10.
And 11 and 12, 13.
Let's go through. We'll go through number 10. We'll go through number 10. Here we go. Oh heavens. Yeah. Okay. Can I change something
Assuming I get 100.
on number 11 just to make life easier? Can I change something on number 11?
Make it 2 pi.
Make it 2 pi instead of 2.
Wow.
That's gonna make it super ugly if it's not 2 pi.
I was just
What?
looking
If
at
it's
that.
just
Yeah,
radians
it is 2
too.
pi.
Ah,
It looks ugly if you do it the other way.
You're ugly.
Like you. What?
you leave yours, and I'll check yours individually.
Yeah.
Okay, but leave that 2 pi. All right, there you go. Let's do number 10 together. Number 11 is a lot easier than number 10. Okay, A. They want you to do an A and a B. So here's the deal. Ready? Focus on this one. They want a sine function, and then part B, they want a cosine function. Okay. So we've got to look individually at this thing. If this thing is a sine function, sine is going to start right here and do this curve. Does that make sense? So really, if this is a sine function, I have moved him over that far. Does that make sense?
Why do that when you have cosine?
Okay? Because they want a sine function. Now, the easier thing to do is part B, where he starts here, and this is the graph of
Cosine.
negative cosine, right? Like he's not moved left or right at all. Does that make sense? So if we're doing a cosine function, we don't have a phase shift. We start at 0. But if we're treating this as sine, he's actually shifted this far, okay? So let's do this. I'm going to, from this graph, figure out what the amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift, and then if he's flipped or not flipped, okay, from this. And I'm going to do that for sine. And then we're going to do the same thing for cosine. And then we're going to plop him into the equation. Amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift, is he flipped? Okay, let's do the cosine one first. Okay, all right, amplitude. What is the amplitude of this graph? 12. He's going up to 12, down to negative 12. Okay, that's the first thing. I usually do the vertical shift next. Is he vertically shifted up or down? Is he shifted up or down? How do you know he's not? If he's going up to 12 and down to negative 12, he's split in the middle, so he's not moved at all. So we have no vertical shift. Do you see how that works? Okay, the period. How wide is this thing? They have it listed at pi over 5. Is that one full cycle?
No.
Yeah, he's one full cycle. The period is pi over 5, okay? And then the phase shift. If this is cosine and we start cosine here and do one of these,
He's fine.
is he shifted left or right at all?
No.
No. He has no phase shift, but
Don't say that.
he is flipped. So I'm going to put star flip, okay? All right, then we're going to put that into the equation. Do you want to put that into the equation now, or do you want to fill out sine stuff? You want to fill out sine first? Okay. All right, let's compare sine and cosine. What's if I start this as sine, I'm going to start him right here and pretend that this is not here, right? And I'm going to continue that curve on here because he does continue.
No, the amplitude
Okay.
is 12.
Now, for sine, the amplitude
12.
is still going to be 12. Okay. Vertical shift. That's the next one I do. Is he shifted up or down if he's sine? No, still the same as what cosine was, right? The period, how wide is it?
Wait.
It's still pi over 5.
It's still going to be pi over 5 units wide because it's just like whatever this is not here, this is here, right? So it's still going to be the same width. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, is he flipped?
No.
No, not flipped. Okay. But here's the deal. We have to figure out how far he has shifted over to the right. Does that make sense? He has shifted this far to the right, that little marking. Oh, heavens. And this is the hard part. Okay.
Oh, heavens, Betsy.
If this guy is pi over 5, blah, what is this guy? What's half of pi over 5? This guy is pi over 10. What's half of pi over 10?
Pi over 20.
Pi over 20. So, he is shifted how much to the right? Pi over 20. So my phase shift is a positive pi over 20. You see how we got that information?
Yeah.
Okay, moving him over pi over 20. So really, sine and cosine, everything stays the same except for the phase shift, and sometimes it might be negative, right? Okay, so there's that, all right? Let's go ahead and fill in our cosine first. So we need y equals blank cosine, blank x, blank, and then a blank. Okay, so we got all that stuff going on. All right, he is flipped. All right, what stuff goes where?
Or no.
Negative 12. Yeah, you're right. Negative 12 goes there. That takes care of the amplitude and the flip, right? Negative 12 goes there. This is cosine, okay? All right, we have no vertical shift, which means this is like plus 0. I'm going to put that on the end there, and then we'll fix him here in a second. That takes care of my vertical shift, okay? We have no phase shift, which means the C is plus 0 as well, right? Okay, you don't have to put those plus zeros on the end there. We'll fix it here in a second, okay? The last thing that I have to do is the period, okay? How do you calculate period for cosine?
2 pi over b.
2 pi divided by b. And I want that to be equal to what?
1/5.
Pi over 5, right? Okay, now we solve for b. Do you want to cross multiply divide? Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so
10
what's,
pi.
that's 10 pi. B times pi is pi b.
10.
So divide by pi, so b has to be
10.
10, perfect, so 10 goes here, okay? Now I'm done. Really, I don't need these zeros on the end there, so I could just write my equation as negative 12 cosine of 10x and be done, okay? If you leave the equation with the zeros in there, that's no big deal. That's fine, Okay, do you see how we pulled the information from the graph and then put it into the equation? Okay, it's very tedious. You have to really have some patience. All right, let's go to the sine graph. So we need y equals blank sine blank x blank and then another blank. All right, let's fill in our numbers. Okay, so amplitude we know is 12. Yeah? Does it need to be negative 12?
What?
No, because he's not flipped, right? So I took care of the not flip and I took care of the amplitude, so he's good to go. Vertical shift, the next one.
Hey, Mrs. Comacher.
Yes. Yeah?
Can Jalen Himmelberg come to the office?
Sure.
My Jimmy Jones is here.
Oh my gosh.
Jimmy Jones.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so vertical shift is 0, so he's plus 0 there, right?
We know the period already.
The period, we already know, right? If we know the period is pi over 5, what did we put for our b value before? 10. So that's going to stay the same. We got 10 already, like work smarter, not harder. We've already done it, right? And then the last thing we need to do is phase shift, okay? How do you calculate phase shift? Negative c over b, but we know that b is 10, okay? Equals pi over 20, okay? All right, would you like to cross multiply?
Yes.
All right, what's negative c times 20?
Negative 20.
Negative 20c equals, what's pi times 10?
10 pi.
10 pi, okay? Now, to get c, I'm going to divide by negative 20, okay? And let's reduce. So what's 10 pi over 20? Negative pi over 2, right? So c up here is negative pi over 2. Got it? Okay, the only thing I could leave off is the 0 if I wanted to. So I could just write it like this. 12 sine of 10x minus pi over 2. Got it? All right, that was a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. 11 is a little bit easier. So start by writing out amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift. Attempt it. Okay? Attempt it.
are
It
these
is a
the
little
same line?
difficult.
Lay down and go.
Can I use the restroom?
Are those the same?
Yeah.
Curve. Yes.
They're the exact same.
They're exactly the same.
Oh,
Right? Okay?
This is stupid.
All right. Goodbye, people watching the video.